How we doing, everybody? And welcome into Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. We're coming back on this Wednesday. Hey, it's a little brisk out there today. Holy crap. I mean, the weather changed fast. It was nice. It was nice. We were going through a little stretch of some nice weather. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, holy crap, it is cold again. And now they're talking snow tonight here, going into tomorrow, talking about a little, maybe 3 to 5 inches. Not anything crazy, I guess. And then, I mean, right after that, it's going to warm back up for Christmas. We're going to go from snow to rain possibly on Christmas. I mean, talk about a white Christmas. You can't get better than that, right? You can't get better than a little rain on Christmas. That's exactly what I'm asking for, is a little bit of rain on Christmas. But hey, we got a lot to get into tonight. Thank you all for tuning in tonight on the show here. Like I always tell you guys, send comments or opinions in the chat there. You can go to the text in line there below me. You can text into the show. Let me know what you're thinking, Wisconsin sports-wise, anything. I mean, anything out there, NBA, NFL, whatever you want to talk about tonight, I would definitely love to get into it. No Aaron tonight here on the show. No Kyle either, right? It's just me. Kyle, he's working. He's got work going on early days, and so does Aaron. Aaron has been working like a dog over these past couple weeks here, getting close to Christmas. So he's been a little absent from the show, but after the new year, he should be back and we should be full force, ready to talk about playoffs and everything like that. Hopefully he's back on Friday, because I want to get into that Penn State game a little bit there. I want to talk about Penn State. I want to talk about Penn State and Bo Prabula, who is also had to enter the transfer portal. James Franklin's freaking out about it. And it's what we've been talking about. It's what we've been talking about with the transfer portal. We knew that there was going to be issues, right? We talked about it. We said, it's not going to be perfect because you made it imperfect to start. You've opened up the floodgates. You didn't put anything in there. You just opened up these floodgates. Why is the transfer portal open during the season? Why is it open during the college football playoff? Why is it open during bowl season? It doesn't make sense. Why does it open up now, right? Free agency doesn't open up during the season. This is practically, it is. I mean, it is essentially free agency for college sports. Why is it opening up now? It doesn't make sense. It has never made sense. This whole, I don't agree with it all. I don't agree with it at all there. And I mean, well, we'll see. We'll see if they make any changes. I really do think that there has to be changes coming soon to the transfer portal and to college sports in general to see what they're going to do there. So we're kind of at the mercy of the NCAA at this point. And well, we know how the NCAA works. It's all about money. They don't care about anything else. So I don't expect much change at all there. But hey, tonight, a lot of good college hoops going on right now. Watching Virginia and Memphis. I know that Michigan plays Oklahoma tonight in the jump invitational, I think is what it's called there. So we'll kind of see what happens there. But nice to see you there, Brantley Gilbert in the comment section there. Carter on the D line for Penn State is really, really good. And I think he might be a top 15 pick in the first round. I agree. I mean, he is fantastic. And we're going to see what happens there when it comes around to the draft. We'll see him there in the college football playoff first. That defensive line for Penn State is exciting. They are really exciting. We know it is one of the strong suits of that team out there. And, that's a big part of it too is, Drew Aller has been playing great. And he says he's coming back next year. I shouldn't say I was surprised. I did think there's a possibility Drew Aller came back, maybe test the NFL waters. I didn't know what he was going to do, but he decides to come back for his final season. So maybe he changes his mind, right? Maybe he changes his mind if they go and they win the national championship. Maybe he's like, let's go out on a high note. Let's not risk screwing ourselves here. So we'll kind of see what happens there. But I want to get into some Wisconsin sports tonight here. I don't want to talk about Penn State anymore without Aaron here. So let's get into it right away here with the Bucks. They get that cup win last night. And, I saw it all over social media and we all kind of poked fun last year at, the Lakers. They hung the banner, this whole hoopla about it. Now LeBron's better than MJ because he's got the NBA Cup and MJ never won an NBA Cup. And we all went through that, right? We all saw that. And everybody was kind of poking fun at it and this and that. And was it really worth it? For the players, not for the star players, right? Star players already make theirs. But you look at some of the other guys on the Bucks, and they're going to make extra funds, which are good for them, right? Good for them, right? You persevered, you got through the NBA Cup. Maybe you didn't play, but you still get extra money on top of it. So it's good in that sense. But my biggest question was, and my question to everybody who was kind of poking fun at it was, for this Bucks team, for me, they won the cup. Great. I thought it was great, right? They went undefeated in NBA Cup play, got to the championship, won it against the Thunder last night, 97-81. I was like, that's a great win. But that's the thing, is it was a great win, right? It was a great win. And that's what I was looking for this whole time. You look at over their past 16 games. The Bucks are 13-3 over the last 16. That's what I care about, right? Because just like I don't remember if it was Doc or who said it there, but they said, this win's great, right? Celebrate it, celebrate this win, but this ain't nothing, right? There's a bigger goal in the end of this, right? And that's what this I think this run, this 13-3 run that the Bucks have been on over the last 16 games, getting everybody, Middleton came back, got the flu, and he was out again for that cup game there, but getting healthy, getting your guys back, and just starting to feel it again, right? With this team is fun. I listened to Grant Bills. He's got the Wisco Sports Show, and he's on with Bill Michaels on the radio there. And you listen to him talk, and he's exactly right. They're just fun. This team is fun to watch, right? You don't look at them and say, man, they are a powerhouse, right? I'm not saying that the Bucks couldn't play with the Celtics. I'm not saying that. I'm not, right now, are there things that the Celtics do that would hurt the Bucks, probably show some of their flaws? Yeah, 100%. I really do think so. But I look at this team and I'm like, they're fun to watch right now. And that's not all that matters, but they're playing better basketball from what they started like. And I was at the point where, and a lot of people were at the point where they're like, we got, there's a possibility. We saw the headlines of Giannis Antetokounmpo might get traded and we might try to blow this thing up. It's not even worth it. This and that and everything in between. And I'm like, okay, well, hold on. We're 2-8. Like, let's just pump the brakes, right? There's a lot of teams. You look at the Eastern Conference, look at 76ers, right? There's a lot of teams struggling at this point. So it was like, pump the brakes. We'll see what happens, right? And, we heard from a lot of people there, then, from the locker room and stuff like that. And they're like, the locker room's fine. The locker room still has faith in this. The locker room has faith in Doc. And they're more upbeat now than they were last year when they were 30-13. And you're sitting there like, how are you more upbeat right now? And now we see it. Right now we're seeing it on the floor. Now we're seeing Doc go to Andre Jackson Jr. And, they're going to Andre Jackson Jr. and they're giving him that time. And he's proving that he can be a great defender. And they're going to AJ Green. And he is proving that he is a great shooter from the perimeter. And they're utilizing the youth. They're utilizing these guys to give them that little quicker step. And that's what the Bucks are lacking, right? They're a little bit of an older team. You listen to Doc and he's like, these guys are showing up fast and heavy. We're showing up with our walkers, right? And, it's the truth. This is an old team. This is an old team. Giannis getting up there in age. Dame getting up there in age. Brook Lopez getting up there in age. Same with Bobby. This team's getting older. Chris Middleton getting older. But there's still ways, right? There's still ways to win basketball games. The Doc knows that, and this team knows that. And I'm going to tell you this now. Giannis does not want out. Listening to him talk, watching him playing, he does not want out at this very moment. So I'm looking at this right now, and I love what I'm seeing. You know what? They won the cup, and that was awesome, right? I didn't pop champagne or anything crazy, but they won the cup. That was awesome. They did it against a Oklahoma City Thunder team, and Jackson Jr. held Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to 1 of 6 and a turnover in 6.5 minutes while he was guarding him last night there. This guy is proving to us night after night that he's a great defender, and it's awesome. It's awesome to have a guy like that where you can you utilize him for those talents, right? We talk about the NBA, and I want to talk about that in a minute. I want to see if anybody out there has their opinions on it, but we talk about the NBA, and we're like, this is, defense. Do we see defense anymore? This and that. And Andre Jackson Jr., he proves it to us night after night. This guy can lock guys up. Right? He plays fast. And he plays with tenacity and he gets after guys and he doesn't care who you are. He's going to get after you. I love that. I love that about him. So I love that Doc is utilizing him in those ways. You're not expecting Andre Jackson Jr. to go out there and drop you, 20 points. If he does, fantastic. If he hits a 3 or a couple, maybe he hits a couple shots, great. Right? But when you put him out there, you're putting him out there to dog somebody. And that's what he did. He dogged Shai. Shai struggled in this one, 21 points. Not, 21 points, but 8 for 24 from the field in this one. Not great at all. You look at the Thunder overall shooting the 3 in this game, and it was atrocious. I believe they're 15% from downtown, 5 for 32. Wow. Just wow. The Bucks defensively, they showed their weaknesses at times, getting beat a little bit, but all in all, a good win, right? And I think it's a great stepping stone moving forward there for this Bucks team to get something like that, something positive like that. And now you build off of it, right? Now you hit that, that stretch of games, not on Christmas Day, right? Giannis is still a little upset about that. But now you got the Cavs coming up next year. You put a little bit in that game there, and then we move forward here. And I'm excited. I'm excited about this Bucks team. I'm not sitting here telling you that I think they're going to. I mean, it's not like I'm fully in like, well, yeah, it's finals or bust, right? You want to say that. You want to say that this Bucks team is destined to get to that point there, but you got to prove it now. You got to prove that you can go and you can beat teams like the Cavs. You can beat teams like the Knicks and the Celtics who are in front of you right now. You got to, that's the thing now is like you're proving to us, proving to yourselves that you can go out and you can knock off some of these top teams in that Eastern Conference and work your way up there. And the big dog at the top, you're talking about the Celtics and the Cavs. The Cavs are on top right now, but you're talking about the Celtics there. Can you beat the Celtics, right? And the Celtics, they expose weaknesses in you that you got to adjust to. So we'll see what kind of happens there. Right now, the Cavs, first place in the East, like I was saying, Boston. Then you have the Knicks, the Magic, then the Bucks in fifth place right now. So where it started to where it is now, you feel good. You feel good. Now, is it a good where you're like, like we're going to do it? Nah, I don't know about that one yet. But I'm excited where this Bucks team is at. It's fun basketball right now, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. So, I kind of mentioned it there. I've heard a lot of people talking about this over the past, week or two here. A lot of people talking about the NBA, and it's becoming boring, right? And if that's the truth, is there ways to make better? And I do think it is. Honestly, I do think it is becoming boring. I do. You watch some of these games like last night, it's come down, fire up a three, miss. You look at the I know three's worth more than two, but look at the Thunder last night there, right? They shot 15% from downtown in this game. And 32 threes on the game, they made 5 of them. And you just keep firing it up, and you just keep firing it up, and you just keep firing it up. And I know that's the way the game's trending, and I get that. I do. But there are a lot of threes being shot in the NBA at this point. And, is it boring? I think so. You're getting away from basketball in its own, right? When you watch the college game, and I love watching the college game because the college game, you can't just, it's not the NBA, right? You don't have all them stars. You're not just coming down the floor. You're not just firing. The college game it seems like there's more scheming and there's more planning and there's more, action. It just seems like it's more intense. The defense is more intense. You're trying to work the post. Post play is huge when you have a good post player, everything like that. Like, you look at a team like Michigan with Golden and Danny Wolf right now. You look at those things. And it just makes I do believe the college game is just more exciting. It is. And you hate to say it, right? You don't want to believe that the professional side of it is getting worse, but you're losing viewership. And why is that? The stars don't really care. The stars don't care. So why should we care, right? Why do I care if the 76ers win? If I'm a fan of 76ers, why do I care if they win if Joel Embiid doesn't care, right? Or if I'm a Bucks fan and Giannis just all of a sudden was like, I need to sit. I need to sit. Like, you have all those instances where it just loses interest in the game. When your stars don't care, you don't care. It's like the All-Star game, right? Nobody wants to watch the All-Star game. It's a disaster. It's always been a disaster. And now it's getting worse, right? We're watching, it's absolutely no defense, right? And it stinks. It stinks all the way around. So, if anybody out there, you got your opinion on that one, on the NBA, if you think what your thoughts are, if it's getting boring to you, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear what you guys think there. So, but anyways, Bucks get the cup win. That's all that matters, right? Get the cup win. 13-3 over the last 16 games. It's been fantastic. And hopefully more good things to come there with this Bucks team. So let's get into a little bit of MLB talk. I did see a graphic today. I was across social media. I was looking around and I did see a graphic, and I just wanted to talk about it because it puts into perspective the large market, small market kind of baseball. And I just wanted to talk about that for a minute here. So I was just pulling up that graphic here. And so top of the list, Juan Soto. We know that one, right? 15-year, $765 million. Juan Soto's the top of the list. Then we have Shohei Ohtani, 10 years, $700 million. Mike Trout, 12 for $426. We have Aaron Judge, 9 for $360. you think about those numbers, and then we get to, let's just say, the Brewers, right? Where are the Brewers sitting? Way down the list. Let's move way down the list here, even below the Twins, below the Diamondbacks, below the Reds, the Mariners, all of them. Let's get down to that bottom there. Also, I believe Robinson Cano is still on that list somewhere. I thought I saw him, but I would have to look. Christian Yelich, 7 years, 188.5 million, right? And that's the Brewers' top contract. Put that into comparison. I mean, you look at a Juan Soto deal, 15 years, 765 million. You even put, let's try to find one a little more close to that one. Judge, 9 for 360, right? But you get to the bottom of this list. You get to the tail end of here, and you see contracts. Luis Severino for the Oakland A's, 3 years, 67 million. Just the disparity of contracts in the MLB. What one team can afford, what another team can afford. And I'm not saying the Oakland A's couldn't probably afford to go a little bit higher than that at this very moment, probably not. But it's such a wide, it's a wide gap. And it's a question of, are we okay with it? You know, we all, I mean, most people love the game of baseball, right? Some people don't like the way that it's trending, or some people don't like the rule changes, right? I think some rule changes in the MLB are good. And then the golden bat, it's an effort to, improve the game, which I get, right? You don't want Adam Silver right now in the NBA. He's kind of sitting stagnant. He doesn't know what to do to improve, right? Let's do an in-season tournament. Let's make incentives for players to try to get them to care, right? Let's do all this. Now, you got to find, so like Adams, like Rob Manfred. And, a lot of people hate Rob Manfred, but he's trying. He's trying to find ways to get viewers. The golden bat, a lot of people thought it was stupid. I didn't like the idea of the golden bat rule at all, but I get it. I get what you're trying to do, and I understand that you're trying to improve the game in some way. Try to improve the viewership that you're going to get. But I really, you look at money like this. You look at the money that a team is able to spend, and how are you going to improve viewership if you have teams like the White Sox, the A's, the Pirates spending X amount of dollars each season, right? And then you look at the top half and you say the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Angels have a big contract, but they only have about one, right? How are you supposed to justify, and how are fans supposed to be invested in their team fully if they're like, they never have a shot? They never have a shot because we can't afford this guy or we can't afford that guy. And I know you do have the years where, like the Tampa Bay Rays, where they come out of nowhere, or the Arizona Diamondbacks, right, where they come out of nowhere. You have those years. I get that. You have those years where you have a team that comes out of nowhere. But 9 times out of 10, star power is going to win, right? Star power wins these games. We look at the Brewers year after year, right? They put a good roster together. They find ways to win baseball games in the regular season. They get to the playoffs, and then they run into the money game, right? 2018. What do we run into? The Dodgers, right? We look at now, I don't know if you're really going to count this, but you ran into the Mets last season, and you want to say that it wasn't complete star power in that game, because I don't believe the Mets had that great of a roster. They had a lot of money spent, but it wasn't on players who were actually there. But they still had some star power in there. Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, right? We all remember Pete Alonso. He hit the home run to put it away. But, you lost that year to the Diamondbacks. But you look at a team like the Brewers. You have consistent success, get into the playoffs, but you get there and star power is where it's made, right? It's what gets the job done. That's what these teams can't do. So I get, a lot of large market, fans are going to be like, who cares, right? Who cares? Why do you guys, it's just how it works, how the cookie crumbles, right? That's just how it's going to be. It doesn't have to be how it's going to be, right? Now, you'd have to get the players' union to agree to it, which I believe that would probably be impossible. But you find a way you got to make some kind of cap, right? Whether it's on the years of a contract, I think that's a place to start. I think you have to find a way to cap the years, because 15 years is ridiculous. That is ridiculous for a contract. So put a cap on the years that a player can go to, whatever place, right? But also find a way to, I don't know if there's going to be a way, but put some kind of salary cap in there. You got to put a salary cap, right? Otherwise, you're going to have contracts like this. You're going to have star power loaded teams like this. And the gap between teams in the smaller market versus the larger market is just going to continue to grow. and there's nothing you can do to close the gap. The only thing you can do to close that gap is to put that cap in. And my thing is I'm not just putting a salary cap, I'm putting a salary floor. I'm telling teams out there, you have to spend X amount of dollars, because you look at a lot of these teams, they just don't spend because they don't want to, right? We suck. Why would we spend money? Why would we spend money? How are you even out the talent by forcing teams to have to spend money and not able to go over a certain amount of dollars, right? You put the luxury tax on it. Great, right? Great. There's a luxury tax. Steve Cohen doesn't care, right? They don't care. The Dodgers don't care. The Yankees don't care. They're going to spend money to spend money. And if they go over, they go over. If it brings them a championship, which it's not going to definitely bring them a contract or bring them a, anything like that, but it's a possibility, right? So just, I don't know. MLB has to do something. They have to do something. I don't know what that is. I definitely don't know what that is. And I don't think it's going to be worked out anytime soon, right? Because we see year after year, we go through a lot of rule changes in the MLB, but I've never heard anybody talk or mention, or outside of fans or, a smaller market teams, fans, everything like that. I don't hear anybody talking about there has to be some kind of cap. There has to be something that controls this chaos. Because, you go into an offseason and they're like, oh, yeah, everybody had a shot at Juan Soto. No, but that is such BS. It's not even funny, right? The Mets had a shot. The Dodgers had a shot. The Yankees had a shot. That's it. Those three. You might have had some stragglers, right? Who were like, we could spend everything we got and we still might not be in the running. The Brewers were never in it. The White Sox were never in it. They didn't even look at it. That's the thing, is when you have a team like the Brewers who can't even look in the direction of a free agent. You're like, you go into free agent, you're like, oh, Juan Soto's a free agent. Yeah, okay, right? What are you supposed to do? You have nothing. There has to be some kind of, MLB has to fix that. And I don't know how. I don't know how they're going to do it. Like I said, the players union, it hurts that narrative, right? The players union is going to stop it because they want to get their guys their money. They don't want, they don't want control. They don't want to control that money. So I look at it and I say, what do you got to do, right? Is it a fan strike? What's going to be the kicker? What's going to fix it? I don't know. But it's a wait and see if it gets bad enough. See if you have enough small market teams like the Brewers, like the White Sox, where those owners get together and those owners say, hey, we have to band together and we have to say, enough's enough. Let's fix this. Let's fix this problem that we have, because I see it as a problem. I do. It is a problem when you can't even look in the way of a free agent because you're not even in the market. There's market separation, right? And you see it with the Brewers roster. Now, am I saying the Brewers can't go out there and spend a little bit more? Sometimes I think they can. I do. I think they can spend a little bit more money. But in all reality, in the markets that we're living in today, what's 15 mil going to do, right? You're going to get a decent player, but you're not in the running for a Juan Soto. You're not in the running for, even the talents of Shohei Ohtani or some of these other, foreign or, overseas talents that are coming over. You're not in the market for those guys. Not when you're in competition with the Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, and they can just throw money at the wall it's ridiculous. It is. And, a lot of people have their own opinions on that. I don't want to, steer you in a direction, right? But I think it sucks. I think it sucks for the league, right? It just, you cannot, I think that's part of what kills viewership. I really do think it is. I think that's part of what kills viewership is you have your big market teams who have a lot of stars, which you love it if you're in a big market. But then you have your small teams like the Brewers who they make a big contract, right? They sign that Christian Yelich deal. And then what do they do now? Well, who do they go after now? You can't afford to. So that's kind of where I'm at with that right now. But speaking of contracts, speaking of what the Brewers, what we're looking at right now, the Brewers, we saw Willie Adames go away now. And the biggest question now is, what do you do with your infield, right? They brought in Durbin and he's more of a utility guy. And you have Joey Ortiz currently in the fold. You have Bryce Terang in the fold, right? So we heard, most of the thoughts, projections, everything like that are expecting probably Ortiz to move over to shortstop, and then you'd have Bryce Turang stay at second, which I'm not opposed to. I like Bryce Turang at second base. I think if you move Bryce Turang off second base, you make a hole over at second base. He has solidified being one of the best, if not the best glove, and I think he's the best glove at second base. He's all around, one of the best defenders in baseball. So Bryce Turang, I feel like he's got to stay at second base, right? So you slide Joey Ortiz over. Now the question is, and I talked about with Durbin there a little bit. He's got, I don't want to say he's got a bad arm. He just doesn't have the greatest arm in the world, right? So the question is, what do you do then with your, I don't want to say lack of power, but lack of power, right? Because you lost Willy Adames. And with Willy Adames leaving, you lost a lot of RBIs. You lost a lot of home runs, right? You lose a lot of runs scored. So you're looking at it, you're saying to yourself, what do we do? Do we stick with a guy like Durbin who has some speed? I love the speed that he brings. I love his ability to put the ball in play. He's not going to give you the home run power. And we know that. He actually, I believe there was, I can't remember the stat, but I believe he was in the bottom 5%. If he was in the MLB for all last season, he would have been the bottom 5 or 15% of hard contact rate, which isn't very good, right? Isn't very good. It's almost, Durbin's comparable to Sal Frelick, right? He's going to put the ball in play. We saw that he's like 91% in zone contact rate, which is fantastic. That's fantastic. Like, he's going to put the ball in play for you, but he's not a power hitter. So the question is, if you're the Brewers, do you search for a guy with power, or do you roll the dice in a different way, right? You're going to have some power. Contreras will give a little bit. Yelich is going to give you a little bit. Rhys Hoskins hopefully comes back with a fantastic year, and he gives you a little bit of power there. But you look at it and you're like, okay, Willy Adames, last season there, that guy was your power guy. He was fantastic. I just wanted to double check his home run stats because I didn't want to get it wrong there. 32 home runs. You got to replace 32 home runs last season there. 32 home runs and 112 RBIs. That's not easy to replace. So the question is now, do you try to play it differently, right? Do you try to go with a different approach? And the different approach that I'm going at is speed and contact over power, right? So we see a lot of teams, and you want to have that power hitter in there, which I believe the Brewers are going to have in Rhys Hoskins. I think if there's going to be a guy who I really hope, and I'm banking on having and the Brewers are banking on, right, having a comeback year, is Rhys Hoskins. Christian Yelich too. You hope his back is good. And if his back's good, that guy's still got power, right? So you hope that Yelich can get you up in that 20 to 25, maybe 30, right? Flirt with 30. I don't know. We'll see what Christian Yelich is able to do. William Contreras, he always floats up there. He's around that 20 to 25 range. You hope that he's around that mark there. Rhys Hoskins should be in that 25 to 30 range there. So you're going to have some pop in that lineup. Just not that dangerous pop, right? Willie seemed to be that dangerous pop when he came up there, and he always seemed to have a knack to drive in the runs, right? Especially with 2 outs, right? So I'm looking at it, I'm saying, okay, what do we do? What do we do? And that's my question. Anybody out there in the comment section, if you have a thought on it, do you go out and you're looking for that power third baseman? And I'm not saying that I'm not looking for a power third baseman, because I'd want one. But who are you going to get, right? Nolan Arenado, I saw he did decline a trade. They tried to trade him to the Houston Astros, I believe, and he declined that trade today. So we know Nolan Arenado's on the market. He's got his no trade clause, and he doesn't want to go to Houston. So we see Nolan Arenado out there, but the Cardinals would never trade in division. I don't believe that. They wouldn't try to make the Brewers better. They're chasing the Brewers. Why would they want to make them better with Nolan Arenado, right? So you have Nolan Arenado out there, but I don't think they're going to get him. Alex Bregman, he's going to demand money, right? He's a no-go. So who do you get? Like a Gio Urshela? That's not going to bring you the guy that you want. You hope maybe he brings you some pop, a little bit of pop, and maybe hits for a good average. You hope, but I don't know if you answer that question, because like I was just talking about before, the money, right? It's the money. You're not going to be able to compete for some of these guys. So you're looking at the bottom barrel of the free agency for third baseman, and I just don't know where that's going to be. So then it's a question of, do you go in-house? Now, in-house, that's bigger question mark, right? Who do you got? You have a lot of young guys, right? And if this is 2 years down the road, I don't think we have this question, because you have guys like Brock Wilken down there in the minors right now. You have a couple good third base prospects down there in the minors right now. It's probably not a big of a question. Cooper Pratt, the shortstop prospect there, he's on the rise. He's not ready to go yet. Don't get me wrong. He's not ready to go, but he's on the rise. So you'd be looking at guys with potential to be up there. But as of right now, you don't have it. Orlando Arcia's back out there. Do you take a shot on bringing a guy like Orlando Arcia back to Milwaukee? Is that a possibility? He had a good year 2 years ago with the Atlanta Braves, but I believe last season he kind of struggled a little bit there. Let's see here, 218 batting average. He did have 17 home runs, but a 218 batting average. So he had a good year, right? I believe he had an all-star year, if I'm not mistaken, a couple seasons ago there with Atlanta, a 264 average. 17 home runs is where he sat at there. He was having a fantastic year. But then this last season, the average kind of went back to close to what we saw in Milwaukee at one point towards, more towards the beginning there than towards the end with Orlando Arcia. But the home runs went up a little bit. So do you take a shot on a guy like that? Is Arcia a possibility? I don't know, right? But that's the biggest question right now. Will the Brewers make them? Will they find somebody out there? We did. Now this is a far out there, but there was an option in-house that they tinkered with, and that was Sal Frelick, right? We saw the Brewers. We heard about the Brewers tinkering with Sal Frelick at third base. Now, I'm not saying that's what they should do. Not at all. I'm not saying that's what they should do, because losing Sal in the outfield, that sucks, because Sal has been nothing but fantastic in the outfield for the Brewers. He's a gritty dude who always gets after it, right? And you love that. You love that about him. But could you tinker with a guy like Sal Frelick at third base, right? I would assume he's got the range. I know he's got the arm. I know for a fact he's got the arm. It's just a question of, do you want to lose that glove in the outfield, and how well does he actually play the field at third base? And we haven't heard anybody talking about it. We haven't heard, Pat Murphy say, Sal's an option, but we knew that it was a possibility last season. They were working him there. Is that a chance, right? Because you do have a crowded outfield. Yelich coming back off the back surgery. Hopefully everything's good there. He's able to get back on the field. You have Yelich. Now, I'm not saying Yelich is an A+ defender, but he's a good defender, right? He's a good defender. He's got a better arm than what I remember when long back there, but he's got a good glove, right? Garrett Mitchell, knock on wood, stays healthy, right? Stays healthy for you. And then you got Jackson Chourio, right? So you got those three guys, plus Blake Perkins. You have all those guys for your outfield at the moment. Your outfield's kind of loaded up. Could you see them move Sal Frelick to third base? It's an option. And if he has that ability, right, why not? Why not? You're not gaining the power, but you're solving the problem, right? So maybe an option there with Sal Frelick. So I was thinking about it today. I was like, what should the Brewers do with that third base spot? Because it seems like it's always been a hole. It's always been, we had Ramos Ramirez was there, and then it was like, who's there now? And then you get your tinkering pieces, Moustakas and Travis Shaw. They haven't solidified third base in a while. They haven't solidified first base in a while, right? We're banking on Rhys Hoskins coming back having a good year, but it's been a while since we've had a solidified first baseman, a solidified third baseman, right? We've had shortstops for a while. We've had second baseman for a while. We just haven't had that first base, third base kind of, solidified with. Hopefully we get that with these young prospects coming up. Maybe we get them signed up long-term, like a Jackson Chourio kind of deal, right? Lock them up long-term on a smaller contract, betting on them betting on themselves, right? Kind of thing. Maybe we can get some of them contracts, but we'll kind of see how it goes there. So let's get out of the Brewers. I want to get to the sponsor of the show. We're going to get to an ad real quick here about the sponsors of the show here real quick. And then when we come back, we're going to get into a little bit of college talk today. I want to talk about the volleyball team a little bit, get into some Badger men's basketball. They're at a long break right now, but I want to get into them. Look at Hunter's got a hockey video, so we're going to listen to Hunter tell us a little bit about the hockey teams, what's going on as of late here, and then later on the show, we'll get to the Packers and a little bit of NFL talk. So we'll see you guys on the other side of this ad break here.
This show is brought to you by these fantastic sponsors. Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in to see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville. Next, we have Sport and Spine Clinic of Greenwood. Have you been injured recently, whether it was at work, shoveling snow, or mowing the lawn? Stop in and see Chad at Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. He will get you right, get you back to work, back to shoveling snow, back to mowing the lawn, doing whatever you were doing, feeling better than ever. And then we have Game Day Supply in Onalaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply in Onalaska to help your team get the sweetest gear.
Great stuff there. Let's get into a little bit of Badger volleyball talk. We watched the game against Nebraska. It was, I don't want to say like Nebraska's just that good, right? Nebraska's just that good. Watching that game, there was moments where Wisconsin hurt themselves, and there was hitting errors, everything else in between. And there was moments in that, in that match there where it's like, God, if they just had this go right, then maybe, that they had the lead, and then just the little things in that one. But Nebraska showed that they are a powerhouse, right? And Wisconsin showed that they are a good team, right? You look at the stats, they got swept 3 times by Nebraska this season, and that sucks. That sucks to get swept by Nebraska. I hate the Cornhuskers sometimes, you know that. But I look at it, I'm like, Wisconsin is a powerhouse. They are their own version of powerhouse. Nebraska is just that. This season, they are that good. They are just that good. And that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles sometimes, right? That's just how she goes. And the worst part was it was in Nebraska too, right? It didn't help that it was in Nebraska for that one there. So Wisconsin did drop that one. Badgers did have they had over 20 wins, 26-7 this season. That marked their 14th consecutive season where they recorded 20 or more wins. That's an impressive stat. That's 14 straight years of success, getting over 20 wins, getting yourself into that tournament kind of. That's awesome. That's awesome there. Sarah Franklin reached double-figure kills for the 29th time this season in that match. So Sarah Franklin is unreal. Watching her, she is unreal. And the success that this team has had together over these past few years has been nothing but remarkable. Nothing but remarkable. So you love that there. Also, she finished with a Wisconsin career record of 1,421 kills, 7th most in program history. Enough said, right? Enough said. You read those stats off and you're like, domination. That's all that it was. She was nothing but fantastic for the Badgers over her years there. She was Crown Player of the Year in both the Big Ten and the AVCA North region a couple weeks ago. 5th-year senior. Also adds back-to-back season as a first-team All-American honoree. We're just naming off the accolades that she got there. Freshman setter Charlie Furbringer proved to be a full package. Wrapped up the year with a 3rd-team All-American honors 2 weeks ago. Furbringer was also named All-Big Ten 2nd team, unanimous honoree to Big Ten All-Freshman team, and was also named AVCA North All-Region Freshman of the Year. So great honors for her there too. And then tidbit there, 14 of them were selected to the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd team, while 54 were selected as honorable mention AVCA All-Americans. So that tells you the groupings that were there. 14 were selected to the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd teams, and then 54 were selected to the rest there. So great stuff all the way around there for the Wisconsin volleyball team. So sadly, the season ends, right? But you are nothing but impressed and just excited for what the future is of Wisconsin volleyball, because it's been nothing but fantastic over the past couple of years here. And now we see it continue, hopefully into next season. So great stuff there. Let's get into a little bit of Badgers men's basketball now, because we're in this long break, right? It's weird. I don't like it. I like it for the fact of the Badgers get some time off, right? I don't like it for the fact that they get some time off, because you want to get going. You want to, stay hot, get into game flow. Don't get out of that game flow. I don't want to say that this long break's going to hurt them, because I don't truthfully believe that it's going to hurt by any means, but it's an odd one, right? So last game, Butler. Now they're going to play, I believe, this Sunday. Is that the 22nd? Is this Sunday? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the 22nd is Sunday. So they're going to have that game against Detroit Mercy. And then they're going to have a really long break, the Christmas break, right? The normal one. And they're not going to be back in action for 2 weeks, right? Almost 2 weeks there. They're going to take on Iowa on the 3rd of January. So that's a long break. in between those games there. But this is kind of like, I don't know, you don't want to say a bye because this is a really long freaking bye if you ask me, but it's almost like a bye, right? You get to get right. Luckily, and I said it just the other day. I said, if you would have lost that game to Butler, you'd have been on a 4-game losing streak going into this. Like, that would have hurt. That would have hurt. That game to Michigan hurt because I felt like there was multiple times in that game where the Badgers should have or could have or found a way to win that basketball game. Couldn't do it. Marquette, they hurt themselves. Illinois hurt themselves again. So just all those little things in those games. And this is where you get better coming off those games. You get this little break. You get better. You kind of regroup, get re-gelled, talk about some things, Hopefully Greg Gard is sitting in there and telling Steven Crowell that he stinks, right? Because if he tells Steven Crowell he stinks enough, he might drop 50. He might drop 50 one night, next night drop 60, right? I said that right after the game. Right after watching Steven Crowell against Butler. I was like, I hope Greg Gard in this press conference after the game says, Big Steve didn't play good enough today. Didn't play good enough. Like, hopefully that's the fire, right? Hopefully that's fire. And you like I was talking about the other day, you like that Steven Crowell reacted to that. You'll have guys who, when their coach, especially today with these, how easy it is to transfer and everything like that, you're not going to do it now, but you have guys who will just shut down. They're uncoachable, right? And I get it, right? Everybody's going to say, well, Steven Crowell should have been, why do you have to tell Steven Crowell to play big? Why do you have to tell him to try? I'm not saying that there's an excuse for it. I'm not making an excuse for it. What I'm saying is Steven Crowell, when he got criticized and was told, hey, you're sucking, dude, and you need to figure it out. And he was told that. He knew that. His teammates knew that. And they're like, hey, we just got to get him going. We have to get him going. And they did that in the Butler game. And that's what I loved. That's what I love there. So I love that he reacted in that way. But you go into this little break here now, and you got that win, so you're feeling good about yourself. You're going to have the game against Detroit Mercy. Knock on wood, should win that game there. And then you're going to have Iowa right after that. So you got a little bit of a home cooking stretch here, against Detroit Mercy and then against Iowa. So this is the time to get right. And we see these first games here, and I was looking through some of the stats. So I just wanted to go into some of the stats today, see what, kind of what has led to this good start, 9-3 start, but also into them 3 losses, right? Because there was things in those 3 losses that hurt the Badgers and have gotten us to this point too. So defensively for this Badgers team so far, they've given up about 72.4 points per game at this point. That's good for 16th in the Big Ten. So the points per game number defensively, the Badgers have struggled a little bit this year. And that, I think it all comes back to watching it, keeping guys in front of them, right? They're getting beat a lot. They're getting beat off the dribble. And I look at, you want to look at the Michigan game, under a microscope and say, what went wrong in that Michigan game? We all saw it. It was the pick and roll. And Danny Wolf's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He is fantastic. Nothing but fantastic. I hadn't heard of him, right? I believe he was at Yale before he came into Michigan there. I had never heard of him. And this guy can handle the ball. He can shoot it from the outside. He's been great. He's been great for this team, for Michigan. And on that night, him and Golden were fantastic in the pick and roll game. And you're going to have nights like that. But the thing that I guess got me while I was watching that game was the Badgers didn't adjust. And you want to say it's tough sometimes, right? Golden and Wolf were just on a burner that night. They were playing well, but it comes down to adjustments in game, right? Finding the ways to adjust to that kind of adversity, right? You were playing against 2 7-footers who were having their way with you, and Steven Crowell was not playing right, like we know. Sometimes he goes away. He doesn't play tough enough down there, and they were getting beat in the pick and roll. The bigs were getting kind of exposed, and that was the big kicker there. You look at that game against Marquette, and it came down to turnovers, right? Turnovers were the problem, because you look at points off turnovers in that game. Marquette, they had 18 points off turnovers. That hurts. That hurts. I believe points in the paint in that game, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they had 44 points in the paint in that game. Marquette did. And when you really, you take that and you look at it from the, outward, and you say, the Badgers, they had the size advantage that game. Ben Gold he's about what they got. They don't have much size to talk about. And the Badgers got owned in the paint in that game. They weren't able to establish that paint. And you look at them and you say, okay, But these guards coming downhill, right? Able to get to the rim uncontested. 1.9 blocks per game for the Badgers. And it's always been, if I remember right, last season they had kind of that issue too. They were one of the lowest teams in blocks per game. And they got some size, right? Stephen Crowell, Nolan Winter, they got some size down low there. But it's getting help side. It's getting over there. It's getting to those drivers coming down the lane, stopping the ball, crashing on the ball. And Badgers kind of, they go through lapses defensively, right? You look at the Illinois game, the Marquette game, and you look at that game against Michigan, and it was the same thing. It was, could the Badgers get a stop? Because they came back in all three of those games, right? They had the Illinois game back to a close one. They had the game against Michigan back to a close one. Same with Marquette, but it was the question of, can they get that stop? And they couldn't find a way to get that stop. And that's your kicker. That's your kicker on all those games, right? The hardest part of a comeback is getting that stop, that key stop. And that's what they missed night after night there, game after game for that 3-game stretch there. So you look at this team defensively, got off it there a little bit. 7.5 threes per game are being made against the Badgers. They're 13th in the Big Ten. That's how much they've given up. 7.5 threes per game. It's not a bad number. But teams are shooting a lot of threes against the Badgers. So it's getting out on shooters. And, Badgers have a problem with fouling 3-point shooters too. We saw, I believe, a couple against Illinois there. We saw the one against Marquette. And you don't want to say that's a big reason for anything, but it's something that's a controllable, right? And it's coming out underneath control, closing out on time, right? Getting your hands up and just being there, being active with the shooters, right? Something that the Badgers have kind of lapsed in so far this season. 5 steals per game. They aren't really taking the ball away too much, right? So they only turn the ball over about 9.4 times per game there. They only take it away about 5 times a game. So they're about evened out in those two margins there. 10 offensive rebounds per game given up. That's a bad number. I don't like that number at all. You look at a lot of these games here, second chance points, not controlling the boards. That kills you. That kills you in games. So I don't like that at all. And then 34 rebounds per game. That is 13th in the Big Ten. A big reason for that number is that 10 offensive rebounds. So it's something that the Badgers have to improve on here, especially getting into Big Ten play and playing against a lot of these gritty teams. Like, Michigan State's going to give you all you got. Iowa's going to give you a dog fight. You see these teams on your schedule here. And once you get into Big Ten play, it's about rebounding. It's about controlling the glass, controlling the paint, getting to the free throw line. And those are your big things, right? Turnovers. Those are your big things in Big Ten games, right? It doesn't matter who you're playing. Those things come into play every single time, right? Whether it's Purdue, whether you're playing UCLA, Indiana, or Iowa. It's all about turnovers. It's all about rebounds. It's all about who can get to the line, who can take care of their business in those categories. That's the big things that I look out for there. So, I'm looking at this team as a whole right now in this little break period. And I'm saying, Stephen Crowell needs to find the consistency, right? You don't need, and I said it the other day and I'll say it again, you don't need Stephen Crowell to be the guy. He doesn't have to be a star. I'm not asking Stephen Crowell to be a star, but he's got to be a guy. He has to be a guy. He has to be a factor in games, right? And I do see Kyle over here. Nice to see you, Kyle. I do see you, Dustin. I want to get into your comment there when we get to the Packers. But Kyle says that rebounding stat sounds like a team that scrambles a lot on the defense and leaves guys unaccounted for around the rim. 100% agree. And that's what I'm saying there with defensively coming out under control, getting under guys, getting to your guys. And that's the biggest thing. You said 100% there. It's scrambling around, trying to get back. And that's what's leading to, like I was talking about there with those fouls on those 3-pointers, right? That Cam Jones 3 from the corner, it was unreal. It was a great shot. Cam Jones is fantastic this season. But that Cam Jones 3 from the corner, when he canned that and got fouled in the process, the roof blew off of the Pfizer when he hit that. I mean, it was already nuts. Like that was a great college atmosphere. And I don't want to give Marquette too many props here, but that was a great college atmosphere for that one. But when he hit that and got fouled in the process, that roof blew off that place. And it was like, wow. And I believe it was probably, if I'm not mistaken, it was like a 6-point game, 5-point game at that point. And he hits that 3 and he gets fouled. That was momentum. Any kind of momentum, any kind of hope that you had was like gone right then. Right. So it's the controllable things in that one, getting to your guys, avoiding, like Kyle's saying there. And I agree there. I mean, scrambling a lot, trying to, losing your guys. And you're losing guys around the rim, which is leading to a lot of these offensive rebounds, right? So it's defensive lapses that hurt this team's focus, right? Getting to your guys. It's the big things that we're looking at there. So Steven Crowell, like I said, finding that consistency in himself there, that's going to be a key. That's going to be a key getting into Big Ten play there. Klesmit, I don't know what's going on with Klesmit. I don't know what's going on with Klesmit, but I want to see Klesmit find himself at some point here. He's got to find some kind of consistency. And I think it really does. I think it's going to come from Klesmit not trying to create so much, right? He'll get to that point, and I know he can do it. I do. I know he can hit a jump shot. I know he can create his own and hit it. I know he can. But right now, he's in this slump. The biggest thing that he needs is a catch and shoot. That's what he needs. What we need is to get the ball into Steven Crowell, which I think is a big thing for the Badgers too. Get into the post, work it into the post, post out. That's what I want to see. Badgers working into that post and then working it back out. But my big thing with Kles is he's got to get some of them catch and shoots, man. He's got to get some of those. And if he gets those, if he can consistently get those, I think he's going to find himself. I do. But right now, I think he's forcing it, and he's forcing it by trying to create his own shot. And I think he can create his own shot. Don't get me wrong. I think he can create his own shot, but that's not his MO. That's not his thing, right? That's not his thing. So that's where I'm kind of looking with Klesmit right now. Another thing I was looking at, it seems like at times the offense, it doesn't seem to flow, right? It seems like they're sometimes getting away from what we saw early on there. That was constant ball movement. That was that puppy just whistling around there, getting down to Steven Crowell, cutters rolling behind him there, finding guys going in the lane there, getting fouled, getting to the line. It was all those little things, right? Just fast ball movement, looked like it was one cohesive unit. Everybody looked like they knew what the other guy was thinking for a while there. And at times it seemed like this offense is getting stagnant, right? They're sticking in one spot for too long. They're waiting for a ball screen. We've seen that crap before. We saw that with Chucky and Crowell. We saw Chucky pulling a lot of shots out of that. I don't want to get back to that. I want to stay with this, early on this season, this fast-paced, getting downhill, getting to the rim, getting fouled. John Tonje and John Blackwell doing it at will, getting into the post, and then from the post, kicking it back out to your shooters. Fast offense, right? That's what we saw early on. That's what we've kind of gotten away from. Teams are taking that away. Force the issue. That's what I'm kind of seeing with it. That's what I want to see out of this team. I want to see this ball whipping around there. And Kyle, he knows it 100%. I always give him props for the Celtics, right? And I know we're talking NBA to college now, but I always give him props for the Celtics. That ball never stops moving. It is boom, 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 open shooter, bam. It's constant movement of that basketball. And that's what I want to see this Badger team continue to do and not get back to that stagnant crap, because I think they've gotten to that stagnant crap a couple times now. And it hurts. I think it does hurt this team, because their best offense is when it's, I don't want to say chaos, but when it's constant movement and they're constantly putting pressure on the defense to try to keep up with cutters, or to, do we have to respect Steven Crowell? He's backing down. Do we have to respect that? Do we fold in off of a shooter, then bam, or a kick cross court or a cross court pass, whatever it is, to get a guy open? Those are the things that I think the Badgers have to get back to. And I mean, all in all, 9-3 start, right? You took your punches. Michigan, that one hurts the most because it was at home, right? We know the Big Ten, you got to win your home games. And the Badgers have struggled on the road mightily over the past couple seasons there. So we'll see what they do moving forward here. You got that game against Rutgers after Iowa. You got a couple home games, and then you go on the road for a little California stretch, right? You got USC and UCLA back-to-back there on that West Coast. Yeah, West Coast. I almost blanked there where California was for a second. It's just, I forget about California at times. But yeah, I mean, I like where the Badgers are at. I like this team. Do I think they're star-studded? No, I think they have some stars. I think John Blackwell is a star. I think that John Tonje is a star. But it's a question of, will the other guys come along with this? And can they put it all together, right? Can they put it all together? We haven't seen them put it all together in a game yet, right? Where John Tonje's doing it at will, and Steven Crowell's playing well in the post, and Nolan Winter's knocking out shots, and John Blackwell's doing it at will, and Max Klesmit's knocking out shots, and you have guys coming off the bench, Janicki and Gilmore and Kamari McGee and Xavier Amos. We haven't seen this team put it all together on a consistent basis on one night. We've seen guys go off. We've seen the guards do it one night, and then we see the big guys do it against Butler. Can we see them put it all together, right? And don't go away, right? John Tonje and Blackwell, don't go away just because Crowell and Winter are having a good game. Don't go away. You see an open lane, you see an action, a cut action, take it, right? Those are the things where it's like, we see one guy get going and we're like, let's keep feeding them. Let's keep feeding them. And that's good. That's good. But don't go away from what makes you great, right? What makes the Badgers great is the diversity that they have and the ability to go 3 levels with all 5 guys. That's huge, right? So I like where this Badger team is at. I like where they're at in this break right now. Got that game against Detroit Mercy. We're going to talk about that game, preview that game coming up on Friday here on the show. And then we'll hopefully be talking about a win when we come back from that one there. Badger news. I did see Phil Longo. He got a job. He's going to, I believe he's going down to Huntsville to take over the head coaching job. So, I mean, good for him. Sam Houston football. He's going to be the head coach down there. So good for Phil Longo. I mean, I never hated Phil Longo. I know a lot of people disliked him. I never hated him. You know, I think he's a good coach. I just think he brought a system into Wisconsin that didn't work. It wasn't going to work here. And we saw it. We saw that not work. And that's why he's fired. That's why we saw him get fired. And now we're seeing this now. So good for Phil Longo there getting that job. Badgers continue to hit the transfer portal hard. I saw they got Billy Edwards Jr., some fantastic transfer portal ads. So just continuing to rack up the transfer portal. Dustin, he is in the comment section over there. Nice to see you, Dustin. Dustin and I were having a conversation the other day over text, and Will Pauling, CJ Williams, they both entered into the transfer portal. And Dustin brought up a good point. He's like, you know, it's one thing to see, you know, a guy like Williams go, but then you see a guy like Pauling go, who was he was a Luke Fickell guy, right? He came into Cincinnati under Luke Fickell. He came to Madison with Luke Fickell, right? So it was, you know, he was saying, well, it sucks when you see a guy like that go. And I said, yeah, it sucks. It does. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by anything anymore in college football. I'm not. I don't believe for 1 second that there is much loyalty anymore. There isn't. Right? The whole landscape. We talked about it earlier there with Bo from Penn State. And he's a Penn State guy. He's a Pennsylvania guy, right? And he loved playing for Penn State. But the situation that he's in, why not go somewhere else, right? Will Pauling, you experienced Cincinnati. You experienced what you got in Wisconsin. And maybe if you came back to Madison, you'd be fine this year. But you've experienced both now. You're like, well, I got this eligibility to go somewhere else. Why don't I try it, right? And that is college football. That is college football now. It is the Wild West in It's free agency, but it's the Wild West, right? There's no control over anything. You can just gone, right? And I think it's stupid, like I said earlier, that the transfer portal opens up so early. It's stupid. It shouldn't be like that. But that's how they have it. And does it surprise? I'm not surprised by guys leaving anymore. I'm not. I'm really not. You know, I see all over Twitter, and I love to look through them, right, to see who's leaving the team and who's coming in, right? I love to see all the tweets and everything about it. I do, and I'll repost sometimes and everything like that. But I see all these, and I'm like, yeah. So like, we got to feel the team somehow now, and some of them suck more than others. Like, I hate to see Will Pauling go. You know, he had some drops this last season, but all in all, I still liked Will Pauling. I think he's got a ton of ability. So I don't want to sit here and say that, you know, Will Pauling is going to be nothing. I think he's going to do good elsewhere. But I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm surprised. I'm not surprised by anything that happens in college football anymore at this point here. So, I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the transfer portal. Badgers, they keep grabbing guys. The defensive line looks like it's getting better there. Getting some quarterbacks into the room again, right? We love transfer quarterbacks. So we'll see if, you know, I'm excited for some of these guys. We'll see what they can do in there over top of the young guys for now. And then hopefully Carter Smith or whoever steps up, Mabry steps up over the years and takes over the reins there. But we'll see. I mean, I do think they need to probably add more. Cornerback room, definitely. Defensive line, I wouldn't be opposed to a linebacker or two. I wouldn't be opposed to them adding up more guys here, but we'll see what they do. I did see they had a big ad in the wide receiver room, former Ohio State player. Just wanted to make sure I got his name right there. Didn't want to mess up his name. Jaden Ballard coming in from Ohio State. I believe he was a former top 100 guy from in the ESPN recruiting or whatever it was. So, I mean, a big ad. big ad for the Badgers there. Hopefully he comes in and, plays well for this team. So we'll kind of see what they do over the coming weeks here. We'll get more into the transfer portal as we go on. But now I want to get to Hunter with our hockey talk because he wants to recap the weekend that we saw, what he's been seeing as of late here. We're going to get to Hunter there. We're going to get to the ads. And then on the backside of that, we'll talk a little Packers. I'll get to your comment there, Dustin, about the NFL a little bit there. And then we will see where we go from there. So I'll see you guys on the other side.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Let's get right into it. Let's talk hockey. Pretty much just got one recap for you. The women's didn't play this past weekend, and actually they don't play again until January 2nd against Ohio State, which is potential Big Ten, or not, well, I guess not. It's not even Big Ten. It's WCHA, but national championship matchup. And I mentioned it last week, and I was wrong on my part. But they don't play again until the January 2nd, and then they play again on January 4th at Wrigley Field, and I'm actually going to be there for the women's and men's game that day. So actually, now let's get back to the men's. On Friday night, senior goaltender Tommy Scarfone delivered a 23-save shutout. I want to say that's the second in 2 weeks. The Badgers won 4-0 over number 8 Michigan at Yost Ice Arena. And anybody who knows college hockey knows it as the house that Yost built. And it's, I guess, I've never been there, but from what I've heard, it's a phenomenal place to play and even go watch some hockey. Then the win kept the Badgers in second place in the Big Ten with 18 points from 11 games. So even though their record's not really showing it, their points are there, and who knows? They might come back. They might find themselves hopefully in the rankings soon, which I think they should be. I don't know how they're not, to be honest, but I'm not the one making those decisions. So the scoring started 8 minutes and 35 seconds into the first period when Kyle Kakone redirected a Christian Fitzgerald shot on a power play. Cody Lukowski extended the lead with a shorthanded goal just 20 seconds into the second period. Rylan Mosley added another goal late in the second period, and Quinn Finley sealed the game with a power play goal, leaving Michigan scoreless for the third consecutive game. Scarfone's stellar performance marked his second shutout in 3 games, like I had mentioned. Saturday night saw a little bit more dramatic contest. The Badgers rallied in the third period to overcome a 2-goal deficit and force overtime, but eventually fell 3-2 against Michigan in overtime. Despite the loss, Wisconsin managed to secure 4 out of 6 conference points for the weekend, tying them for second place in the Big Ten with 19 from 12 games. After a scoreless first period, Michigan took the lead just 7 minutes and 34 seconds into the second period and added another goal with 20 seconds left. And like I said, Badgers came back, but it just wasn't enough. The Badgers are now 7-10-1 overall and 5-7 in the Big Ten and 8-3 over the last month. And that's where I think that they should be ranked. They started the season, I want to say, ranked number 10 preseason, and to be honest, Badger hockey fan fully, I'm going to come out and say they shouldn't have been ranked that high. I think there was a lot of turnover that they just didn't really see, and I knew beginning of the season was going to be a struggle. But I don't understand how they're not ranked. I just like football, you get, or no, I guess not like football, but you get 20 20 spots for rankings. I don't understand how they're not at least like 20 or 19, 18. They swept number 18 Penn State at Penn State, like, what was it, 3 weeks ago? So there's two types of rankings I go off. A good podcast and just Instagram account to follow is Everything College Hockey. They do their own rankings and everything. They're a little bit of Minnesota fans, which I think they kind of favorite Minnesota a lot, and hate on the Badgers a little bit. But the Badgers should definitely be ranked. I'm not saying like top 15, but like they're definitely a top 20 squad in the nation. The first month of the season, it takes some getting used to new guys and just finding your feet. But over the past month, they've been playing insane. And the women's, I mean, the women's, I don't really gotta say much. They should be ranked. They're ranked number one, and I hope they are all season. They should just mop the floor. I hope. I think the really only team that's going to give them a struggle is Ohio State, and so I'm excited to go watch that at Wrigley Field. But yeah, I don't know. Give me your thoughts on how the season is, and if you think the Badgers men's team should be ranked or not ranked at all. So we'll see.
We're still having technical difficulties right now. This has been a disaster right now. I don't know what's going on with the restream tonight here, but we're going to get back to regular stuff here. We're going to get to the Packers here in a second. That was great stuff from Hunter once again. The men's team, yeah, they've been playing well over the past month here. We'll see what kind of happens with this team moving forward. But like I said, I mean, we'll get to the Packers here in a second. We'll get to some of the comments here, and hopefully you guys, I mean, comment in. Let me know what you're thinking about the Packers or anything else Wisconsin sports-wise tonight here. So we're going to get to the ads, and then we'll get back to the show here.
This show is brought to you by these fantastic sponsors. Marshfield Motor Speedway, located 3 miles outside of Marshfield on County Road H. Tons of family fun for all ages. Great food, great drinks, great racing. I cannot think of a better way to spend a summer day or night than down at the track. Next is Sports Scene in Marshfield, Wisconsin, located at the Marshfield Mall. Get down there and see Al. He has everything you need, from sports cards, memorabilia, jerseys, model stock cars. He's got it all. Sports Scene in Marshfield. And then we have Peggy Sue Beslick, Century 21. Do you want to find your dream home or maybe looking to sell your current property? Let Peggy Sue Beslick at Century 21 help you with all of your housing or property needs.
Great stuff there. Make sure you guys check out everybody we're talking about in the ads. They're proud sponsors of the show here, and we're happy to have them. And we'd love if you guys are want to or talk about them, make sure you reach out to us too. Anywhere across social media, you can reach out to us and we can get you hooked up and talking to them about any of your needs out there. So I want to get into the Packers. I want to talk a little bit NFL. Dustin did have one in the comments earlier. He said, I want to hear how you have the NFC playing out. I have Philly losing to Washington this week, Green Bay beating Minnesota next week, and then Minnesota beating Detroit in week 18 to clinch the 1 seed, sending Detroit to the 5. I mean, yeah, it's hard right now, right? You look at the Lions and you're like, they've been a juggernaut all season long, but when do the injuries finally catch up? And I feel like they got to catch up at some point, right? They got to catch up at some point. And we saw it last week. We saw it last week against the Bills. They couldn't get the stop. They couldn't find a stop. And we saw Dan Campbell had to, and I hate, it's such a stupid rule. It is the stupidest rule in the world that you have to announce that you are kicking an onside kick. I hate that. Like, how it's the element of surprise that makes it great. It's the element of surprise that makes it great. Now, I'm all about player safety, right? You know, I'm all about player safety and everything like that. And the rules that they've put in for those are great. But this I think is the dumbest thing they've ever done. I think it's the dumbest thing they've ever done. And they've done a lot of stupid things. But Dan Campbell having to like blatantly come out and say like, hey, we're kicking an onside kick right now, gives the Bills a chance to get ready. You know, I hate that. I hate that rule. But you look at the Detroit Lions right now and you say, okay, offensively, they can still move the football. Now, you lose Knuckles, right? You still have Sonic, but you lose Knuckles. You lose Montgomery there. That's going to hurt. It hurt my fantasy team, which sucks. I had Montgomery. I had the 1 seed in the playoffs right now. I got to play Kyle coming up this next week here. And I don't got Montgomery anymore. So that hurts me. That hurts me 100. It hurts me bad, right? But it hurts the Lions too. That's a 1-2 punch. That's a dangerous 1-2 punch. And now you lose a guy like Montgomery. Now you got to try to make up for it. Now, that's not the worst of it, right? You look at the defense for the Lions. And it's not just that guys are hurt, right? It's that guys are on the injured reserve. It's that guys are done for the season. That's the thing. Like, you're not sitting there as a Lions fan saying, man, like, I can't wait for this guy, or this, right? Like the Packers, we look at the injury report. We're like, okay, Jair, at some point, I believe at some point, he's going to come back, right? I look at, you look at the Packers and other teams' injury reports. You look at the Lions and it's like, well, this guy ain't coming back. Aiden Hutchinson. Like, he tells them, hey, if, we get to the Super Bowl, I'm going to play. Now, I don't know if that's true. Like, that would be miraculous if that happens. Like, I don't want to say that it's impossible because nothing's impossible, right? But I don't know. The Lions were going to run into something, right? I didn't think it would be the downfall of what we were seeing for the Lions. I didn't think it was going to be the injury bug this bad. And this is bad, right? You look at the guys on the injury report right now for the Lions. And you're like, what if they were healthy? What would this team look like if they were healthy? And this would be an impressive team all the way around. They'd be, like we talk about, a juggernaut. They would be a legit, like, who's going to stop them juggernaut. But that's not where we're at, right? So, Dustin, yeah, Minnesota could play their way back in. Everybody was looking for what is going to be the downfall for the Vikings, right? And I'm not going to say that I went into this season and I was like, the Vikings will be up there near the top. I picked the Vikings for 3rd place. I did. I picked the Vikings for 3rd. I had the Packers and the Lions battling up for the top. I thought the Lions would take it, but I said the Packers would be right there with them. And then I had the Vikings, and then I had the Bears. That's where I was at. Sam Darnold has impressed me this season. And if I was looking for, you want to look for what could go wrong, right, for teams. I still think the one thing that could go wrong for the Vikings is Sam Darnold. I really do think. If one thing is going to go wrong for the Vikings, it will be Sam Darnold. Now, will that be the lack of playoff experience? Will that be, I don't know if I trust him to be the guy to lead a game-winning drive, right? I don't know if I trust him to be that guy, but will it be something like that? Like, my thing with the Vikings is, if Sam Darnold can do it, if Sam Darnold's going to take this team, if this team is going to go on a run, get to an NFC championship, potentially get farther than that, it will be, how does Sam Darnold play, right? And that's my biggest what if with the Vikings. That is my biggest what if. Sam Darnold. Can he, and he's continued this all season. You can't deny the numbers. He has looked good. I'm not saying anything against him. He has looked good. But I think that if they have one weakness, one thing that is going to hurt them, it will be Sam Darnold. It will be. That's where I'm kind of at with the Vikings right now. So I definitely could, like you're talking, and the possibility of it is way higher now that we do see the Vikings get the win against Detroit, end up getting the 1 seed. The Detroit Lions drop to that 5. The Packers would get the 6. Like, I still see that. And, for the Packers, it's like, okay, if the Rams get in as the 4 and the Buccaneers get there as a 3, would you rather have the 6? Like, would you rather be in that 6th spot and play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Rams? I do. Like, I honestly do. I would rather have Matthew Stafford. I would rather have Jared Goff go out to, SoFi and take on the Rams than the Packers have to go out there, because that team is getting hot, right? In the Rams, they're getting hot right now, and they're scary. They are scary. Like, that team scares me seeing them. So, I could definitely, like you were just talking there, I could see him there. Dustin went on to say there, You are going to have 4 teams with 13 wins and 2 will get wild cards. Tough Bills. 100%. 100%, right? I mean, even like you look at the Packers right now. You're looking at the Packers and you're saying most seasons that record, and you look at most like divisions, right? That record would be good enough for first place. And yet we're looking at them, we're saying this team could be a 6 seed right now. This team, and it's baffling, right? Sometimes I wish division winners got you're automatically in, but then you know what we talk about with college football, but I almost think of it like, should you take the top 4 teams and make them your top 4 seeds, right? Because why should I penalize the NFC North, right? Because like Dustin's saying there, you look at the Lions, you look at the Vikings, both going to have, I believe, good records by the time this is all said and done. Well, they're going to have good records, but both going to have great records. One of them's going to get a 5 seed. The other one's going to probably get the 1 or 2, right? In whatever the Eagles do. But you're going to end up with that kind of combo. So it always has struck my interest to think, well, what if you just took the top 4 teams and you said, okay, these are my 1 through 4. It doesn't matter if you won your division, because how many times do we see a division like the NFC South, right? Or the AFC South, where you get some team with 9 wins, 8 wins, who gets a home game in the playoffs. And I'm not saying that they won their division. Like, you want to say that they deserve it, but at the same time, you're like, why am I penalizing a team that won? Like Dustin's saying, there's got 4 teams that are with 13 wins. Why are you penalizing a team with 13 wins by making them go on the road to take on a team? It's just always a question I've had. What if you change that? What if you change that format a little bit? And I know they've tinkered with formats. Everyone's, adding wild cards and everything like that. But I wouldn't be opposed to it. I wouldn't be opposed to taking the top 4 seeds and make them your top 4 seeds. Your top 4 seeds in that league, that's where you put them. Like, those are your top 4, and then you bring in the next 3. And whether those next 3 are division winners or the next 3 in line, that's how it goes. Like, I would not be opposed to seeing something like that. So definitely, I mean, I can definitely see it. Dustin, I mean, he's a Vikings fan over there. I can definitely see it kind of playing out like that there. But Packers get the win over the Seahawks. And we haven't talked about that game on Sunday night there. The Packers get the 30-13 win over the Seahawks. And it was a good game, right? It was a good game. Packers got the win. It was a gritty win. Going on the road to Seattle has never been easy for Green Bay. So going out there and getting the win, you love that. You love that, right? But I look at this game and, and I saw Bill Michaels, right? Big Wisconsin radio guy. Love listening to Bill every day on the radio there. And right after the game, he tweeted out and he said, Packers win. And he even said he's like, a good win. And he kept talking about it. And he said, but there was things in that game, right, where you were like, if you got to do this better, right? And I was like, yeah, but you won 30-13, right? How many bad things could have been in that game, right? Where you're like pointing towards this. And I don't hate when guys will, tell us, hey, good win. It was a good win, right? You got the win on the road. Everything was good, but there's something in that game, right? And the one thing that I look at, the biggest one for me, was the drive before the half, right? And a lot of people look at that like, dude, you came away with the field goal. Like, why are you complaining and everything like that? I'm not going to say that I'm complaining as much as that drive going into half made no sense, right? So you start with it, 2 minutes and 54 seconds left in the second quarter there. You start with it, Josh Jacobs, 7-yard run, 2:34. You ran another play there, 5 yards for Josh Jacobs there. Then you were driving, you got it across midfield. You had the Jordan Love pass to Tucker Kraft there. You had that penalty on Seattle there, so you got the free play. Jordan Love took advantage, which was fantastic. Then you came down to 2-minute warning, right? At the 2-minute warning, you were at the 38-yard line. Josh Jacobs goes out to the left, 9 yards there, right? Then you see on the next play, 2nd and 1. This is where it gets kind of dicey, right? So you went from 2 minutes. Now you're at 1minute and 36. You run that next play. Josh Jacobs, 8 yards. The next play was not ran until there was 54 seconds left in the half. 54 seconds. So you see how much time has ran off from that 1:36 down to 54 seconds there when Jordan Love hit Jaden Reed there. And then you see he had that deep pass down to Romeo Doubs. Doubs got held there in there. And then we see, okay, so you had to pass to Dobbs. Then Green Bay called a timeout with 18 seconds. Had the deep shot to Dobbs there. Pass interference down there. Packers end up kicking the field goal. Field goal's good. You go to the locker room. I'm not saying that you came away with points, right? You came away with 3 points. You came out hot, right? Touchdown on the first drive there. Got the ball back. Went in, scored again. Kicked the field goal 17-3. In a playoff game, right? You're on the road. And we don't even have to say Seattle. Let's say you're on the road in Ford Field, or you're out in Philly, right? Or you're playing in Minnesota. You're on the road. Or you're out in SoFi, right? You're on the road. You have a 17-3 lead. You have the ball before the half. You know that the Lions, the Vikings, the Eagles, whoever it is, you know that they get the ball coming out of the second half, right? They get the ball to start second half. I just thought that the management of that drive, once you got past midfield, it was like, it's go time now, right? We got to move. We got to be more tempo. We got to get going here. And the amount of time that they let run off the clock, I didn't like that, right? So if I was going to nitpick, I guess, on this game, some of the things that I disliked, that would be my thing. That would be one of my biggest things, was that drive. That drive. Now, coming out in the second half, that would also be one of the things, right? One of the things that you would nitpick. You look at what Matt LaFleur said. He owned up to it, right? Rough second half, and he said, "I thought that there were opportunities. We didn't capitalize on it. Some of it was lack of execution, and some of it was terrible play calling." He owned up to his mistakes in that second half. You know, putting your foot down and then stepping harder. And the Packers in this one, that's what we didn't see. We didn't see that in this one. So, and there was positives, right? Edgerrin Cooper was fantastic. I mean, holy crap. Like, the Packers, they found Edgerrin Cooper, truthfully, to me, I think Edgerrin Cooper, he could be a top linebacker in the NFL. I really do think. Like, I'm watching him right now. He's fast. He's fast off the ball. He's a nose for the football. He gets in there. He makes plays. And I am impressed, utterly impressed. He can get back. He's good enough in coverage, right? I love what I'm seeing Edgerrin Cooper. And he's making a name for himself at this point. And we are watching slowly but surely him building himself into something. He was I believe he was the first Packer since Clay Matthews to win 2 Defensive Player of the Years of the week twice in a season. He was the first since Clay Matthews. So that's impressive, right? That's impressive all the way around. So Edgerrin Cooper continues to impress there. But like I said, I love the fast start. So, I just talked a little bit about the negative there. I want to talk about some of the positive, right? I love the fast start. First drive, 10 plays, 63 yards, touchdown. Second drive, 8 plays, 80 yards, touchdown. Third drive, 8 plays, 51 yards, field goal, right? That's a good start to a game. That's a fast start to a game. You came out hot and heavy. Your defense was getting you the ball back, and you were capitalizing. You were taking advantage of those situations. So I love that. I love that. I love the play of Romeo Doubs in this one too. Romeo Doubs, we watch Romeo and we're like, this guy's got great hands. He's got great playmaking ability. I love what I see at Romeo Doubs. I loved when I was watching this one. He caught that, I believe it was that slant route that he had, and he drug guys with him, right? He drug guys with him, and he showed that toughness that, you want to see out of all your stars. But when you see it out of a guy like Romeo Doubs coming off an injury there, I was glad he was wearing the Guardian cap too. I don't want to see this guy get another concussion there, but I love that out of Romeo Doubs. So Romeo Doubs has a great day there. Outside of that, I thought defensively, looking at the front for the Packers, they all got involved in this one. Eggenbar, he had a drive where he was doing it all by himself in this one here. Xavier McKinney had a good day. Outside of that, Devontae Wyatt, that move that he had on his sack, it was wow. The defensive line for the Packers showed up, and that's what you need, right? It took a while. It definitely took a while. Rashawn Gary, I love that he just said, dude, just bull rush. And that's what he did. He just bull rushed. And he was mowing guys, and that's what we want to see, that edge that Gary brings. Now, are we saying that he's playing at the level that we thought he was going to play at with everything? probably not yet, right? But you love to see moments like this, stepping stones like this, So great stuff there. Out of the defensive line in this game here. Outside of that, I was just looking over some of the other stats. I mean, Jordan Love, great day, 20 for 27, 229, 2 touchdowns. We talked about it going into it, limiting the turnovers. That's what he did in this one. So great stuff there all the way around. Josh Jacobs continues to be the workhorse. I mean, 26 carries, 94 yards. You establish it on the ground, you work from there. Josh Jacobs, not just in the backfield, Josh Jacobs in the receiving too. They utilize him in different ways, and that's what we saw again in this one. 4 catches for 42 yards for him in this one. Tucker Kraft continues to impress. I saw a stat on him. I believe he's averaging 9 yards after the catch on the season. That is first for tight ends. I mean, wow. Just wow. Tucker Kraft continues to be a dog. Christian Watson does his thing with the deep ball. I mean, you have with this wide receiver core, and we saw them all involved. Like, that was the greatest part in this one, too. Like, we talked about after the last game, it was like Reed had no catches. How'd that happen? We saw everybody involved in this one. Watson with 56 yards. Josh Jacobs with 42. We saw Romeo Doubs with 40. Tucker Kraft, 34 yards. Jaden Reed, 34 yards. Dontavian Wicks, 14 yards. And not just Dontavian Wicks, and I want to make this clear, not just him in the passing game. What impresses you the most about Dontavian Wicks, too, is his ability to run block, too. His ability to block downfield. I love not just him, too, all these wide receivers. Their ability to block downfield is a very underrated thing that not a lot of people talk about, right? Outside of, the Green Bay Packers guys or the insiders or the radio shows or everything like that. Nobody really talks about it. That is one of the biggest things that the Packers have that you miss with some teams is guys willing to get down and dirty and take care of business and open up holes for other guys. So you love to see that there. Outside of that, I mean, we talked about it going into this one. We said the Packers had to control the time of possession in this one. 32 minutes. Seahawks with 27 in this one here. Turnovers. Won the turnover battle there. I believe Josh Jacobs had that fumble, which, I mean, yeah, that stinks, right? But outside of that, I mean, you controlled the time of possession. You limited the turnovers in this one. All those little things, right? And we talked about penalties too. Avoiding the pre-snap penalties. Packers, 5 penalties for 27 yards. And the Seahawks 5. I mean, there wasn't a lot called in this game here, but limiting the penalties in this one. 5 for 12 on third down. Not terrible in this one. We saw the Seahawks go 4 for 13 on the game there. I mean, all the way around, a good win, right? It's a good win. A great win on the road. I think it's one of, if not the best, close to the best win that they've had this season, I would say, against the Seahawks there, especially on the road and against a playoff caliber team, right? Because we've heard a lot of people say, well, the Packers, they haven't beat a playoff caliber team. They beat everybody that they're supposed to, right? But they haven't beat that playoff caliber team. Now they did, right? Now they beat that team. So now what's the narrative, right? And the narrative that I saw all across national media and everything like that was like, Packers. Oh, we got to talk about the Packers more. This Packers team can go on the road and do this and that and everything else. And it's like, yeah, we've been saying that this whole time. It was just a question of when they started to show it, right? And now we're starting to see them show it. So we'll kind of see what the injury report looks like coming off of this one. My biggest question, and I don't know if anybody in the comment section wants to answer this one, with Jair Alexander, do you bring him back for the Saints game if he's good? If he's good to go, do you bring him back for the Saints game? Do you bring him back for the Vikings game? Do you bring him back for the Bears game? Or are you like, nah, let's get him ready for the playoffs? Like, let's just get him ready for the playoffs. Like, what do you guys think? What would you do? Would you bring back Jair Alexander if he's good to go? Would you bring him back early? Because we know he's injury. I don't want to say injury prone because I hate to put that term with guys, but would you bring back Jair Alexander if he's good to go, or would you wait? For me, I'm on the fence, right? I don't not want to, because I want to get him settled back in, because getting up to game speed again, get him back in there, get him working with the defense again. I want to see him get back into game action, but it's just like, I've seen the risk, right? I've seen, him go down with injury. Is it worth giving him a couple of games off, a couple more games off, and get them healthier, get them feeling good, and then get them back into game action. And maybe you wait until a game like the Bears, or you wait until the Vikings, right? Maybe you avoid the Saints game, you wait until the Vikings game. Maybe that's one of the things. I don't know. I've been interested in that one. We'll see what happens. We'll see what the injury report looks like coming off of practice tomorrow. We'll see kind of what they decide with Jair Alexander and if we will see him against the Saints, or if we got to wait another week or 2 weeks or whatever it is, right? We'll wait and see kind of what happens there. So, we got into a lot today. Packers, Brewers, everything in between. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I know there was some technical difficulties. I don't know what happened. Computer froze up. I couldn't push screen to screen. It might have kept playing on the backside. My computer was just frozen, and I was like, I don't know what to do. Like it wouldn't let me even end the stream. It wouldn't let me do anything. So I was like, well, we're kind of just stuck here until this thing works. And luckily it came back on. Hopefully you guys got the whole video from Hunter there. That's when it froze on me, was when Hunter was doing his video there. So hopefully that whole thing came through. But yeah, like I said, sorry about the little freeze up there and everything like that. Usually it's not a crazy mess like that, but tonight it just decided to be a mess on me. So yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. We'll be back on Friday. Hopefully Aaron's back on Friday. We'll see what happens with his work schedule. Hopefully he's back. Kyle, he might be back on Friday here. We're going to be talking about the college football playoff. We're going to look at this Badger Detroit Mercy game coming up this weekend here. We might look at a little women's college basketball there with the Badgers there. They've been playing well. We're going to talk about that a little bit. See what the Badgers do in the transfer portal. Maybe we'll be talking about that a little bit here. We're definitely going to talk transfer portal because I want to get some of the guys' opinions on what's going on in the transfer portal out there and their thoughts on, Aaron's thoughts on Bo having to transfer out, because that's how it works there. So we'll kind of see where that all leads there. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll catch you guys back here on Friday